Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Orlando.
Good morning, I'm Jesper.
And we'd like to talk to you today about what advertising is.
He waits. That's what he does. And I tell you what, tick followed tock, followed tick, followed tock, followed tick. Ahab says, I don't care who you are, here's to your dream. The old sailors return to the bar. Here's to you, Ahab! And the fat drummer hit the beat with all his heart. Here's to waiting.
The difference between the forgettable and the enduring is artistry, said the great Bill Bernbach. In an age defined by short-termism, falling effectiveness, and AI, I think this is an idea whose time might well have come again. Over the last 15 to 20 years, we've been prioritizing short-term objectives, performance advertising, and indeed programmatic. And in that time, we've seen a fall in advertising effectiveness. Nearly 1 billion people worldwide are now blocking advertising, and we are creating work, a product that people do not want. And there's a lack of confidence around among marketeers in advertising's ability to make an impact, and a lack of confidence in the skills and experience of marketeers to make it happen. So we could look at this ad, an ad that was voted one of the greatest of all time by the great British public, one that created social capital for this brand, and we could ask the question, how does this ad work? Certainly, the scientists of advertising have given us some wonderful and important contributions on the topic of advertising. Claude Hopkins gave us the reason why. Rossa Reeves gave us the unique selling proposition, the USP. Byron Sharp has given us category entry points and the distinctive asset. But do any of these really explain what this ad does? What this ad is? So I'm not going to ask the question today, approach the topic of advertising as a scientist might, a mechanism or a machine. I'm not going to ask, how does this ad work? I'm going to ask a different and much more fundamental question today. I'm going to approach advertising as a philosopher might art. And I'm going to ask the question with Jesper, what is this ad? Bill Bernbach was a philosopher. He studied philosophy, and he said advertising is fundamentally persuasion, and persuasion happens to be not a science, but an art. And so we're going to look at 7 ways of seeing, 7 ways of understanding advertising as if it were art, to help us to explain, help us to get to work that endures, that creates social currency for your brand and helps your brand to grow. And we're going to start with the first of these, which is that advertising is truth.
Welcome, Orlando.
Thank you.
Have a seat, and welcome to Stockholm and NextM.
Well, great to be here.
It's your first time.
Yes, it is. It is.
So, my friend, truth, it's a pretty big word for brands, but also quite important for advertising and art, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about artists and the way that they approach their subject, they think of their subject as the truth. And how do we capture this and create something that sort of expresses the self as well? There's a wonderful artist, very eloquent artists in the UK called Maggie Hambling. And she said, when I talk about truth, all I can say is I try to make my response, which is quite different from another artist's response, as truthful as I can make it for me. And really, I think when artists approach something, they're trying to reveal something for the first time. They're trying to reveal something afresh and give people a different perspective. And I think that's what advertising also has to do. Should we have a look at an example?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yes!
They're here!
This should be interesting.
Please find and close the results of your family's recent Marmite gene tests.
These show whether you were born a lover or a hater.
What does it say?
You're a hater?
Dad.
Yeah.
I need to tell you something. I'm a Marmite lover.
I thought you said I hated it, and this says I love it. What type of mother does something like that?
But baby,
Oh my goodness, I am so stupid.
I prefer jam.
I'm carrying a hater's baby!
You basically took away my childhood!
oh, sweetheart.
Come here, son.
You didn't care.
Oh, we just want you to be happy with who you are.
Have you ever done it here? In this house?
Yes. I only did it to make you happy.
Do I look happy?
On this table?
Yes.
Ah!
Baby, please
I don't hate Marmite, I hate you!
I can learn, look.
Get in, all lovers. I knew it.
Hate it! I hate it!
He's never even tried it.
So, revealing something, a truth about the brand. And actually, when you think about it, that's what is at the heart of great advertising. Yeah. Heidegger, who talked about, unconcealment in art, that's really what advertising does. The nature of art is truth setting itself to work. And this was at the origins of the creative revolution in the 1960s. So Bill Bernbach, David Ogilvy, this new way of thinking really about advertising, that it was all about telling the truth, but you've got to make the truth fascinating.
Use of humor as well?
Humor is because you dramatize it too, don't you? We'll come on to talk about drama, but yeah, humor is a way of revealing. Jeremy Bullmore said that too. So I think, truth is absolutely got to be fundamental to everything that we do. Bernbach said, the truth is interesting and grabs attention, not because it's the truth, but because it's so rare. And so a way of telling things, telling the truth is very important.
Yeah.
This is just an example. Well, you work in out of home.
I do.
We're going to show a few out of home examples as well today. This is a fairly old ad, but a very nice ad talking about the Parker pencil.
Still works.
Still works. So truth is the first one of these. The second is beauty, and actually these two are related.
Yeah, they're linked.
Because truth, beauty, and goodness create a kind of triad. They're a classical triad. And when people think about art, truth, beauty, and goodness. So if you can create beauty and truth, then you're also creating goodness and feelings of goodness about your brand, just making it feel right.
Just a quick reflection, if I may. Do you sometimes get a sense that some of these dimensions that we will be talking about have gone lost in modern advertising?
I think certainly beauty is more difficult to find, I would say. We're going to show an example in a moment. But beauty is really important because it helps to create a coherent impression of the brand, coherent whole. Let's have a look at an ad which I think is all about beauty. Let's have a look.
One night of magic rush, the start a simple touch. One night to push and scream, and then relief. 10 days of perfect tunes, the colors red and blue. We had a promise made, we
was Swedish involvement with the
There
artists.
was the Swedish involvement, yes. So beauty, mystery, and wonder, these are things that really only art and an artistic approach can bring. And they elevate the brand, beautifully as that did. Here's something Hegel said: art is the sensuous shining of the idea. I think that's really what you just saw, actually. Bill Bernbach said, you can turn a page, and before you really comprehend it, there's a feeling, there's a vibration. If it's the wrong vibration for what you want to convey, what follows is going to fight it. An uphill battle against the original impression you made. So beauty, really important, with goodness and with that sense of truth, together. It just feels right. This is how you make a brand feel right, your brand feel right.
Yeah. We have an example.
Here's a lovely example from Leonetto Cappiello of a poster for Asti Cinzano many years ago now. But he created some beautiful posters. And we just don't see work like this anymore. Where has it gone? I mean, with photos, photorealism, we don't see this anymore, but perhaps we should.
Yes, taking us into experience. Now, as mentioned, I'm in out of home, so this is something that we try to talk a lot about, experience. But I know there's also something that you often say when, and correct me if I'm getting this quote
go
wrong,
for it.
When baiting the trap with cheese, you got to leave room for the mouse.
Always leave room for the mouse, absolutely. Howard Gossage said this, he was a great creative. You've got to give the audience something to do. You've got to involve them and reward them. Let them fill in the gaps. Let's have a look at an example of an ad that I think does involve the viewer. Should have gone to Specsavers. The thing about art is, it only really starts to develop meaning when it's viewed by the audience. And the audience becomes a kind of accomplice, So great thinker Arthur Koestler wrote about this, and Jeremy Bullmore, great creative, quoted him, saying, the artist rules his subjects by turning them into accomplices. This is what art invites you in and rewards you for your effort, and that's a really important part of great advertising that endures. John Dewey was a philosopher, great philosopher, said the work of art is complete only as it works in the experience of others. So you've got to involve people. So here's an example from Out of Home.
Many must have seen
very
this,
famous example, we all know it, I'm sure. And it involves the viewer, and it rewards them for their effort. So experience is important. If you think about the origins of the word communication, the etymology of it, from the Latin, it basically means the process of making something shared together. No one's talking about this today. But actually, that's what Out of Home does brilliantly, isn't it? Because it is like a fixture in the street, in our towns and cities. It's part of culture. And we've got to elevate that.
Yeah.
So, if you think about what a poster is, really, in human terms, you look up at it, it's like an orator looking down at you, talking to you, addressing you. How do we think about it in more human terms? It's a fixture. When I was at school, I'd go on the bus to school, and you'd see a poster there for 4 weeks. And it was a big thing when it changed. And it was literally part of the fabric of the world that you lived in. No more.
In the context and the environment.
Yeah, you're lucky if it's there for 6 seconds these days. So, really important. If you're going to create shared meaning, you've got to have a kind of sense of permanence about you.
Now, possibility, to me, this is about opening people up to something.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's right. I mean, what we can do with advertising is open people's minds, change their perceptions gradually over time, and kind of let the scales fall from people's eyes. Let's have a look at an example I think does this quite nicely.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Full of lovely stuff, Skoda. So Skoda in the 1990s in the UK was a bit of a joke. But then through a series of ads, a long campaign, it's a Skoda honest, eventually we end up at this ad, and it changes people's perceptions of the brand. So John Dewey again said, the moral function of art itself is to remove prejudice. It's exactly what this campaign did. Do away with the scales that keep the eye from seeing. Tear away the veils. Perfect the power to perceive. This is what advertising can do. It's what art does. Jeremy Bullmore talked about language and how language is never completely explicit, and that, it suggests things, it's evocative, and it really helps as a sort of stepping stone to other things. Not just language, but music, as you heard in that example, images. Also, what you don't say is important too. So I think this is quite a nice example of one of your sites.
Absolutely. With the boy looking out the window, this campaign has received a lot of recognition as well. But quite subtle, isn't it?
Yeah, what I like about it, it's like an invitation to freedom, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what advertising can be. It opens people up to possibility and gets them to think in a slightly different way. This is, I quite like this, Jesper. This is something that you've been doing with Versace, a deep screen example. And we were testing it actually at System 1 in an online environment. But what we found was actually this captured people's attention for really quite a long time, sort of 4 or 5 times the length of a normal ad, poster ad. And it sort of opens people up to something, doesn't it?
Yeah. Does. Funnily enough, it's also a bit story-driven, which is our next
story
dimension.
So advertising as story. So, art is about story in many senses. Let's just have a look at this ad as an example.
Papa, désirez-vous quelque chose, papa?
Une fleur.
Voulez-vous autre chose?
Un peu de miel.
Encore quelque chose, papa?
Stella Artois.
Une Stella Artois.
S'il vous plaît.
Monsieur Dubois est ici? Laissez-moi vous aider, mon père. Merci. Par ici? Oui, oui.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. But I mean, reassuringly expensive. One of the greatest lines in advertising ever written. So, what advertising, what art does, what advertising, what storytelling does, is it helps you to convey something with feeling without, as Hannah Arendt puts it, committing the error of defining it. So people are understanding it for themselves, and they're taking away something, that stays with them. Leo Burnett talked about the importance of language and getting the language just right, expressing something really succinctly, the right adjective. Don't be satisfied, with approximations. This is craft. It's not just the words, as I said, it's the music, it's everything else that goes with it. So here's a modern example, rather
Is it visible enough?
I hope you can...
Yeah, works.
You're not you when you're hungry. So Snickers, another, it's story, really. And one of the great things about stories is that they create coherence. Coherence is really important for a brand. It's what helps you to charge more. It's what helps you to come to mind quickly. So think about ways in which you can create a living whole, make your brand feel like it exists as a whole thing. Narrative, story, characters, these are ways of doing this.
Perfect segue into drama. And drama is also character-driven, right? So would you care to elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, drama requires characters and people, a scene. But, that's only one way to dramatize things. If you look at the history of art, the most valuable paintings in the 17th century were paintings which showed something happening, which showed an emotion, revealed an emotion of some kind, that dramatized a moment to create an insight. A bit like this ad.
Morning, all. Morning. Brothers, sisters, today a great legacy rests upon your shoulders. Because here, we make more than just tea. We make proper brews. Brews that bring a tear to your eye and warmth to your soul. So go out there and do it for each other. Do it for yourselves, but most of all, do it for Yorkshire! Oh, and the fire drill's Thursday at 3.
Yorkshire tea, where everything's done proper.
So what is this trying to say? Well, I guess the campaign is all about the lengths that Yorkshire tea goes to bring you the perfect cup of tea, a proper brew. Using people from Yorkshire, Sean Bean in this case, to do that, to dramatise that. And I think this is, absolutely what drama does, is it helps to create an inner meaning, The aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance.
Should we throw in motto e azione in this context?
Motto e azione. Well, at this point, it's traditional to talk about motto e azione. So this is an artistic idea in Italy in the 17th century, and it means, well, motto from movere, to move. Motto in azione is that you have to convey through the body, through the voice, through the face, kind of emotion. And what's expressed on the outside is expressing what's going on the inside. And that helps to dramatize something. So, yeah, absolutely. So motto e azione, very important principle. You always ask me to do an impression of...
I do.
But I might resist, unless you want me to.
No, I think you should...
No, I've done it before. You always ask me to do this when I come to Sweden.
I think, so, I know, it's a great opportunity. Go ahead, don't be embarrassed.
We all know Basil Fawlty and Fawlty Towers. We all know Manuel,
We do.
Well, he was really a figure created from the Commedia dell'arte, the sort of servant looking up at his master, and he's sort of, oh, Mr. Fawlty, and it's that sort of expression through the body and the voice that can communicate something, about him and his character. So very important.
You've got a second career coming, I think.
I know. Well, it may end after this. Anyway, so this is what we call the inherent drama in every product, and Leo Burnett talked about that as being the primary task of anyone creating advertising. You've got to dig for it and capitalize on it, as we saw in that example. This is quite a nice way of dramatizing the magic of movies, I think.
Through a special build, yeah.
Special build. And, here it's Minecraft, Elf, and Mission Impossible, just sort of bringing the magic of the movies to the passerby. Really
We're
nice.
a bit pressed for time, so it's perfect timing that we're
moving on to
the final, the finale.
The feeling, very important. Let's have a look at an example.
Hiya. You alright? Number 6. One of those, please.
Du got det.
Love you, Dad.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Rather lovely, a bit like a genre painting from a Vermeer, an intimate scene.
But this, just hanging on for a few seconds on feeling, you've got to make people feel something, right? So for effectiveness, this is
it's absolutely crucial. Because a feeling captures attention, but it also lodges things in memory, and it creates a kind of preference, an implicit, intuitive preference for your brand over the competition, which justifies price and price premium, margins, and therefore profit. You know, it's as stark as that. And Bernbach knew this. You know, Bernbach said, "Our philosophy," he said, "only art makes you feel, and only feeling makes you act." That's what we should be striving for. You know, Tolstoy said, "But art is it's not a handicraft, you know, it's the transmission of feeling that the artist has experienced." I think there's probably no better example than this in advertising. So this is John Gilroy. Actually, the artist painted himself into these posters. That's him there, a genuine feeling. My goodness, my Guinness. This, by the way, today's, I tested this recently on System 1's approach, 4.6 stars out of 5-star scale, even today. So communication of genuine feeling.
We've got a couple of questions from the audience, so should we try and squeeze in a few at the end?
Yeah, okay, sure. So, you know, we need to learn how to feel more, really, as Susan Sontag put it. And so, you know, when you think about what advertising is, and we go back to that opening Surfer Guinness ad, you know, what advertising is it's truth, beauty, experience, possibility, story, drama, feeling. You know, advertising is art. It's a commercial art, folks. And that's how we create enduring, lasting impressions for our brand. And by the way, that opening ad was inspired by this piece of art from 1893, Walter Crane. Bernbach said, "It's ironic that the very thing that's most suspect to business, that intangible thing called artistry, turns out to be the most practical tool available to it, for it's only artistry that can vie with all the shocking news events and violence in the world for the attention of the consumer." So, as he said, let's go out there and show to the world that good taste, good art, good writing can be good selling.
Thank you, Orlando.
A pleasure.
So, a question. Should we go with it?
Thank you very much. Do we have time? I don't know if we have time.
A quick one.
Quick one, yeah.
Is storytelling the main KPI for success?
Storytelling is absolutely central, really. I mean, the word gets overused, but narrative is really important because it's narrative that creates coherence for your brand. You're not you when you're hungry. Should have gone to Specsavers. These stories are what make you come to mind before any other. And so all the distinctive assets in the world, you know, you can keep plugging them, but unless you've got a story that helps to lodge it with people in their attention, their memory, you know, you're not going to create something that lasts for people. You've got to have a story. You've got to have a story. You've got to find out, you've got to know who you are, create an identity, have an identity that enables you to tell your story. And that story is essential to great brands.
Unfortunately, that's the only question we have time for. But you will be hanging around,
I'm
so
here.
stop by
Come
and
and
have
say
a
hello.
chat with Orlando later.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, folks.
Thank you.
Love to see you.